whether he genuinely believes that he actually won in that election with Joe Biden. Of course, it's worth pointing out that pretty much no one else believes that he did win that election. It's just him.
It's been another busy week. Is there ever not a busy week in US news? So Harriet Alexander, a reporter, joins us with the latest breakdown. Good evening, Harriet.
Hi, Geoff.
Hi. We're going to talk about Trump's primetime address to the nation yesterday evening, where the president claimed that US elections were catastrophically vulnerable to manipulation. During the speech, Donald Trump set out his 5 areas of concern and claims about Chinese interference.
Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history.
Well, we got one area of concern there, Harriet. What were the other 4?
Talked, Geoff, about the idea of non-citizens voting. This is something that's a real bugbear of his. He's trying to get this Save America Act passed through Congress, which would put much stricter rules on how you can turn up at the polling stations and vote. So he claimed that there was 278,000 non-citizens who are currently registered to vote, but he didn't provide any evidence for that. He talked about China, as you mentioned. And he talked in general terms about how unsafe the elections are. For a lot of people, this was quite frustrating, Geoff, because, he's going back over an election that happened 6 years ago and sort of relitigating these old grievances. And Democrats in particular are saying, this is a sign of how worried he is about his own prospects for the November midterms.
I mentioned this earlier in the show, but I've always thought that his belief that the 2020 election was rigged was performative or expedient. Is there a chance that he genuinely does think it's rigged, whether or not there's any evidence of it whatsoever? Or is he so stung by that defeat that he's come to genuinely believe it, do you think?
I would love to be able to answer that. I suspect it's one of those things that perhaps he's got so enmeshed in what he wants to believe that maybe he can't really see the wood from the trees. For instance, last night he was talking about Venezuela and how some of the election counting machines used in Venezuela had been tampered with by the Venezuelan government. But that's got nothing to do with the United States. And he sort of seemed to be drawing some strange parallel there that didn't really exist. So whether he genuinely believes that he actually won in that election with Joe Biden, of course, it's worth pointing out that pretty much no one else believes that he did win that election. It's just him. But he was presenting last night what he said was, bombshell evidence of a big campaign to sabotage the elections. But even the information that the White House released, Geoff, to support this, it actually didn't support it. It was very, very uncompelling, if that's a word. It was not really. It was not really of interest.
Wasn't the smoking gun? Apparently, in terms of the networks, it wasn't shown on ABC and NBC, and only, I believe, partially shown on CBS. Why didn't they air the speech?
Well, I think they were really concerned about what he was going to say, because, of course, there's been a lot of legal issues about all of these false claims about election fraud and the companies that have been involved. And that's been very, very problematic. And so, yes, as you say, those 2 major networks decided not to air it live. Trump today is saying that he's threatening to withdraw their broadcasting license because they weren't showing it. And CNN was only showing clips of it. It didn't do the whole thing live. And that's just because I think if he was going to talk about something like, say, Iran, which would be, perhaps a genuine update on a situation that is very much live and very much, significant right now, then there would absolutely be every reason to broadcast it live. But because we knew that he was going to talk about election fraud, people were pretty concerned about what he was going to say, and also the population at large are not all that interested.
Well, speaking of a story that a lot of Brits won't have heard of, but a story which is very big in the US, is this teleprompter scandal, where President Trump's longtime teleprompter operator allegedly made $100,000 by betting on the president's speeches through the online prediction market Cowsheet. Speaking during a briefing, excuse me, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt gave the media an update on the situation.
Obviously, I'm aware of the report. The president is too. I spoke with him about it. He believes it's deeply unfortunate and, frankly, a disgrace. And the individual that was cited in that report is complying with the CFTC, but has been put on paid administrative leave. So there will be a teleprompter operator tonight, of course, but it will not be the one, unfortunately, in that story.
I don't know if you remember. In this country, we had in the 2024 election, there were people that bet on the likely date of the 2024 election. The teleprompter writer, just to unpack this story, a lot of people be coming to this cold. So just tell us what's been happening.
Yeah, so this was a report earlier this week, Geoff, about a man, Gabriel Perez, he's been named as. He's somebody who's worked at the White House since 2016, and he's described as a technical aide to the White House, which basically, yes, means that he just loads the teleprompter. And he was placing bets on the website Kalashi about what words were going to feature in Donald Trump's speeches. And he made, believe it or not, over $100,000 by placing these
Only
bets.
though, surely if you know what words are going to be in, you've got to go in bigger than that before you get caught.
Well, I mean, perhaps he was being cautious because he didn't want to get caught, but actually it was the betting site that flagged it to the federal government and said that there was suspicious information about all of these bets being placed. And it's not actually the first time that something like this has happened, Geoff. If you remember earlier in the year when they had the raid to capture Nicolas Maduro, a person who was actually a member of the special forces who was involved in that raid placed a bet on the timing of the raid and won a chunk of change on that as well. So, it happens, and it's an increasing problem, it seems.
Yeah, and it's a big story in the US. Has Perez commented himself yet?
He has not. No, he is definitely lying low. The White House has basically confirmed, as we heard, the outlines of the story and have said that that he is cooperating, but that he will no longer be on teleprompter loading duties.
I mean, what's the body in the states that would oversee stuff like this? I guess it would gambling standards in the UK.
Right. There's all sorts of sort of ethics bodies and securities commissions, and it's basically trading on not public information. So the people who work in the White House are bound by a specific code of conduct. Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, it was at pains to stress that they upheld the highest standards of ethics. And, it's obviously very much against that to be using the information that you're getting from your government job in such an intense environment and then putting bets on.
Just talk about Canada, the wildfires in Canada, where more than 800 wildfires are burning across Canada, with air quality alerts now extending south into multiple US states. A thick blanket of smoke clouded skylines from Detroit and Toronto to New York and across New England, causing hazardous air. Many outdoor events were cancelled as officials urged people to stay indoors. I mean, this is interesting. You normally think about wildfires in the hotter, more central regions of the US, but unusual that they are happening in Canada.
Yeah, well, actually, this did happen before in 2023, and it was sort of pretty apocalyptic back then. And I mean, looking out my window right now, it's pretty grim out there now. It's just a really thick cloud that's over the city here in New York. It's really acrid. You can taste it. You definitely don't want to go for a run or ride your bike or do much activity because you can really feel it on your lungs. And that's just for an average person. But if you've got asthma or if you If you have other sort of lung or breathing difficulties, then it's really bad. And actually, the mayor of New York has been warning people to stay indoors.
Wow.
So it is a definite problem. Tomorrow, we might see a little bit of respite, but that's going to come at the cost of what they're terming dirty rain, which is something to look forward to, because that's when it's going to chuck it down and all the soot is going to be raining down onto cars and buildings. So that's the price we pay.
Another thing people in the US might be avoiding is lettuce, shredded iceberg lettuce from Taco Bell restaurants, where people in 5 states have been urged to avoid eating it due to a diarrhea outbreak that has infected more than 1,600 people. I mean, how bad is this for the Taco Bell brand? I mean, people wouldn't have essentially said this is the highest quality nutritious food that you would want, but how has this kind of made its way into restaurant produce?
Yeah, I think it's a nightmare for the brand, actually. Chipotle had something similar a few years back. I mean, it was a very different type of case, but as soon as you associate a name with something like this, even though they've been at pains to stress that Taco Bell itself is not failing any hygiene rules, it's the supplier, but it's very damaging, I think, for the chain. It's in particular in the states of Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio and West Virginia. Michigan is the epicenter of this. There's been more than 5,000 cases. And it's been traced so far back to a supplier based in California who has apparently imported it from Mexico. So they're still trying to work out where it's all come from. I mean, this is not fatal. No one has died from it, but 100 people have been hospitalized in Michigan.
Wow. I mean, that's quite a serious impact. What have Taco Bell and the parent company said in the wake of this outbreak?
Yeah, Taco Bell have said that they maintain the highest standards of hygiene, and of course there is no suggestion that it's a problem of their creating. They have said that they have switched suppliers and they've got rid of all of the existing produce that came from that problematic supplier. So they're doing their best, really, to try and recover from this.
Who knows, man? There are people, though, they've had enough drinks. I think they might still overcome those fears and hit the Taco Bell after a few Budweisers. And this isn't product placement. I'm just talking about stereotypical American brands. Harriet, thanks for joining us.
Thanks there, Geoff. Thank you.
That was US-based reporter Harriet Alexander there.